Hey everyone, welcome back to Declassified. I'm so excited for you guys to hear today's guest episode. I sat down with one of my favorite influencers, Kiley Miller LoVecchio, and she shares all about her experience as an influencer, how she got started. We talk about the highs and the lows in the industry, when to say no to brands, and how to stay true to yourself when your job is to share your life online. She was also very sweet to share how she navigated her miscarriage and how she walked through that hard season. And we talk about her current pregnancy and the joys of that, the first trimester and navigating into the second trimester now. I really hope that you guys enjoy this conversation. So let's just dive right in. Welcome, Kiley, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I know, I'm so excited to have you here. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah.
I feel like we have so much to chat about, and I kind of feel like I'm fangirling a little bit.
Oh, no.
Because you're one of my favorite influencers to follow.
Oh, you're so sweet.
And the testament is truly like all like the Amazon packages I have on my front door constantly.
I'm sorry.
I'm like, sorry, John, blame Kiley. She started juicing, and now I have to juice as well.
Yeah, I'm like, here's all the things you need to make your life better.
Yeah. And
Here's
all
the shopping list, a little starter kit.
And all the cute outfits.
Yeah.
It's kind of bad for my bank account, but it's fine. I mean, like, that's why I also love following you. It's not just like cute outfits. Like, you share so much more about fitness and nutrition and stuff. Like, that's such a good influence, you know? Like, we need both, though. We need to be cute and then also like taking care of ourselves.
I feel like it all just adds value to your life, you know?
Yeah.
It's like look good, feel good, play good. I'm like, wear a cute outfit, take care of your body, like live a good life.
Yeah. And
know?
then when you feel good about yourself, you're also like, you know, when I get a new gym outfit, I'm really amped to go to the gym and use that good gym outfit.
Yeah. Just like when you get ready for the day, you probably do more stuff. You're more productive. You're like, I'll go to the grocery store because I put myself together today. I'm not going to just like Instacart and then, you know, you saved yourself some money because you got out of your house.
Yes.
Like, yeah. I feel like it seems, social media kind of like seems vain, but my intentions behind it are very pure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like you can see that so well. So for listeners who don't know you, which I feel like if you live in St. Louis and you don't know who Kiley is, you probably live under a rock.
Oh.
But for people who maybe don't know you, just like introduce yourself, kind of like what you do.
Yeah. So I'm Kiley LoVecchio now is my new last
Newly
name.
married.
I've not legally changed it because I hate paperwork, but we're gonna get there.
Same.
Have you not? Okay, well that makes me feel much better.
John's like, when are you gonna do this? I'm like, I love you, I swear.
No, literally, it's so funny because Jeff will be like, "Oh, Kiley Miller." Anytime we get a package that has like my old last name on it, and I'm just like,
yeah.
Listen, it's a whole thing. I would literally pay someone to do it for me. But anyway, I'm Kiley LoVecchio, but my Instagram handle is Fit by Kiki, FitByKiki. It comes from like, it was supposed to be Kai.
I love
my name is Kiley.
Yeah.
But, you know, everyone just says Kiki because that's just what it looks like.
So, I almost called you Kiki when I first met you.
Everyone
does.
Like, no. No, it has like accidentally turned into a self-named nickname. So I go by Kiki a lot too. And my friends call me Kiki. But yeah, I started off like all my social media stuff as primarily fitness. That was like the thing that really got me out of, you know, a dark season that I was in and really helped me find myself. And so that was all I felt confident sharing was like my fitness journey. But as I've gotten to be a more like confident person in other aspects of my life, I've felt more comfortable sharing other things that I do that I feel like help keep me a more well-rounded, grounded person, because I don't think obsessing about like one thing is necessarily healthy. So on social media, like I share all aspects of my life because that's everything that, you know, really makes up like who I am. I love to share my relationship. I love to share cute outfits. I love to share workout tips, like everything that, you know.
I think that's beautiful that like you came from a dark place in order to help others. Like even though like you probably needed help too. So it's like we pour into other people and then it also like feeds back into us as well. Yeah. I think that's beautiful. So how does one become an influencer?
So I feel like there's a couple of different like types of influencers that exist. There's the type of influencer that usually get their platform from like being on a show or being an athlete, being in the public eye in some way that was like not handed to them, but kind of.
Like you think
Yeah.
about people who go on The Bachelorette or something,
or like
and they
Love
just
is
get
Blind, they blow up and
insane followers, where
Yeah.
you really like built it from the ground
Yeah.
up. Like you started YouTube 8 years ago.
Yes, which I feel like is the safest for your mental health, is to grow it, because you grow with the like the good and the bad. Like you grow
It's not overnight
steadily.
success.
It's not overnight. Like imagine becoming an overnight influencer and just getting like, think about the amount of negativity they must get, and it just happened out of nowhere. I feel like with me, it was like, you know, as you grow, like it's only positive, and then all of a sudden, like you get one negative, like every 6 months, and then it's like every 3 months, and then it's like you build up a tolerance to be able to handle it. But that's how I built my platform, was like from nothing. I started actually on YouTube. That was just where I felt like I could just sit down and talk forever. Like I feel like I could talk to a wall. So YouTube was really where I started. And then I was like, I'm just gonna start an Instagram to like feed my YouTube, because I feel like it's kind of hard to grow a YouTube if that's like the only platform,
especially now. But I mean, like back in 8 years ago, 2016, like it wasn't as saturated as it is now, which is crazy.
So even then it was like hard to grow. So I really just started Instagram to like help feed my YouTube. And then I don't know, Instagram just morphed into like, you know, stories and reels and swipe. There was just so many different types of content that you could share, and that felt like just more of it just felt more authentic. It didn't feel as forced, like sitting down to edit a YouTube video.
And it's so much easier to just like pop up a story than edit a whole YouTube video. Yeah. What's your favorite platform out of the two?
I mean, definitely, you know what? I really love Instagram. I feel like I've really cultivated a really positive community there. I like TikTok because it helps me like not get so scared to post content, because I don't know, everyone goes through this social media growth where you're growing, and then all of a sudden like everyone kind of hits a plateau or like goes down a little. And I would say like the peak of my Instagram engagement was like pre-COVID, and that can really do a number on your mental health, because you're like, oh my gosh, is this not gonna last? Like, am I gonna have to do something else? Like, what's happening? So TikTok allows me to just like play around with the types of content that I do, and it helps me like not be so scared of posting something that's a little bit outside of the box for me.
Yeah, I feel like TikTok isn't as curated as Instagram is.
Yeah, it's not as curated, and I think people are like, I think stuff that happens on TikTok becomes a trend on Instagram like a month later. So I'm like, if you can be ahead of that, if you can like catch the wave on TikTok, it like teaches you. I feel like I've trained my brain to like learn the algorithm a little bit, like and so TikTok kind of helps me like learn that without such a, you know, harsh like self-criticism lens of like, oh, on Instagram, if I don't get this many views, like, you know, this is going to tank, whatever. Like TikTok takes that away. So
it's really hard to walk that line between like just posting and not caring what the number is, and just being like, I'm just going to throw darts in the wall and see what happens, because a lot of the times success and going viral is kind of like throwing darts at the wall and seeing whatever sticks. And so, you know, there's plenty of creators that post several videos a day, and you need to get past that and to get past worrying about what other people think about you to reach that.
100%. I always tell people that social media is such a weird job, because you don't really have like a boss that's telling you, this is good, this is bad, this is what you need to do like to succeed, here's your KPIs, like
it's all on you.
It's all on you. And so if you're just doing something that was doing well, and it was like, at the end of the day, this is my job, so like I want to perform well at it. I have like, you know, I look at analytics to think about like this as a job for myself. So I look at like views and link clicks and reach and impressions and all those things. And if you like see them not doing well, you can't really ask anybody like, hey, what did I do? You don't have a boss to call. Like, you can't call the Instagram guy, Adam, whatever his name is.
Yearly review.
Like, can you like help me? Like, what should I do?
Yeah.
But I think that's when you have to just like look inward and just remember to just show up as yourself, provide value for people, like that. Literally those two things.
Yeah, when you internalize and go to your why, like that'll keep you on track.
Yeah.
And also like looking at, like you said, analytics and stats and how things are performing. So how do you stay inspired? Like, do you have content pillars that you're like, I have these 5 things that I constantly post about, and then I kind of like reevaluate and see like cross reference, like what's doing better.
Yeah. I would say I try to always like, I still like sharing fitness content, but Reels really changed the game for fitness. I think swipe videos are super helpful. Like carousel videos are so helpful in sharing workouts because you can do an exercise, swipe to the next one, do that one, swipe to the next one. But when you're watching a reel, you're not going to just like sit there and let it play. You see like one rep of an exercise. I just don't find that to be super helpful content. So I stopped sharing as much fitness because I'm like, I don't know how to share fitness in a way that is helpful to people. Like, so, but now I feel like sharing a gym routine or a gym vlog, like that feels like more entertainment to me versus helpful. But I always put the workout in the caption so that people can save it for if they're wanting to go back to it.
That's smart.
So I try to keep it like, you know, fitness, fashion, lifestyle. Like I try to kind of cycle, you know, through all of those, and it happens more organically. I don't like plan my feed or anything. Like,
really? That was my next question is like, how do you handle all the platforms? Because you're on YouTube, you're on Like to Know It, you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram. Like, do you have a calendar system?
No.
How do you keep up with it?
The way that I don't have a calendar, like I work with a management group who gets me ads for my page, and they will like book things in a schedule. So I will go through and like write out when all of those are due and like when I have to post them. And then I'll plan the rest of my stuff around that. But I do feel like our creativity is like a cycle, like our cycles are. So like there's certain times of the month, even when you're pregnant, I still feel like I go through like a cycle in the month, like where I have like certain emotions and I'm like a certain person.
Oh yeah, when I'm on my period, I'm like, everything sucks, I hate it.
You're like, I'm not gonna film a video today. Like I hate the world and I'm negative today.
Yeah, I'm
like,
just gonna sit on the couch and eat chocolate.
Yeah, and then on the days when you like can't shut up, that's like the days when you should like try to batch your I don't like sit down and I'm like batch content day. I'm just like, ooh, I want to film this, and tomorrow I'm like, ooh, now I want to film this. And that's when you have to practice a little bit of like self-control, like not to dump it all out there at once. And like, I have found that sticking to like a routine of, and I actually had a call with Instagram a couple of years ago, and they told me this back when they were like, do you ever open your Instagram where you got like a notification that was like, would you like to hop on a call with a real specialist?
Yeah, I've had them like text me.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, we're going to call you today. And I'm like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. So I did one. And the lady was like, well, I can see that you're really consistent and like, you know, your engagement is good. And it was like lower than what it used to be. So I was like, okay, great. That's good news. And she was like, I think one of the most important things you could focus on is sticking to a schedule. Like, a Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday is what I try to stick to. I'm not like, you know, it doesn't ruin my life if I don't have something to post on one of those days. I'm not like stressing out about it.
Yeah.
But I really try to stick to a schedule because I do think that it's more likely that it'll pop up on the top of the feed. So like that's really the only thing I try to stick to is like if I'm in a really creative window and I have like a few things I've recorded, I'm like, okay, well, I don't need to post them like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm like, I'll save it for Thursday and for Sunday and Tuesday. And now all of a sudden, like I have content for a week and I can like take the stress off. And that allows me to stay creative because like when I'm stressed about content, like it's going to show in the content. It's going to reflect.
Absolutely. I think that's a smart point is like, also, there used to be lots of advice out there about batching content and like doing it all at once, but sometimes that doesn't really work because if you batch all your stuff on like the first day of the month, towards the end of the month, there's going to be new trending audio and new trends that are just happening organically, and you want to stay on top of that. So if you batch everything in the beginning, like you might record something to an audio that isn't really performing as well, so your reach might not be as well. And if you just stick to like you said, a couple days a week, that'll give you a flexible schedule that you can infuse your own creativity in. And if you have a post that you want to post on Saturday, like do it.
Yeah, literally that's exactly how I stick to the schedule. Like it's sort of a rough schedule, but if I have something that I can slip in there, I'm like, I might as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I feel like Instagramming and being an influencer is kind of glorified. So like, what do you feel like is the hardest part? Is it just staying inspired, or?
I would say it's the fact that like there's no set schedule for like what you have to do and when you have to do it. Like you have to hold yourself accountable. Every month looks different for me for income, and that's something that a couple of years ago I every month would like have a breakdown towards the end of the month where I would be like, I don't know what I'm going to make next month. Like, I only have a couple of ads booked. Like, I just don't know. I would worry a lot about money and about things coming in, even though things always came in. Like, there was never a month where I was truly, like, once I quit my job, I mean, it took me a few years to like be successful at social media and have the confidence to quit my job. But like, I could have probably done it 5 years ago, but I did it
you just had that
2 years ago.
You had that salary,
Yeah.
you know, like whenever you see it on paper and you know it's coming, it's a lot easier than being a business owner and being like, that's a big question mark for me.
Yeah. So the hardest part for me was having the confidence in myself to like stop. The minute that I stopped stressing as much about money, though, the minute that it started coming in more.
Yeah.
Like, I've always heard people say when you chase money, it runs. So I really try to like not be overly consumed with like, oh, I need to make sure I say yes to all these ads that come in. Like, just take the ones that are true to you. Like, you don't need to be so focus on meeting your needs, and good things will happen if your intentions are pure. So,
yeah. And if you focus on your why and just being authentic to yourself, do you say no to brands, or do you have like this checklist that you're like, okay, yes, I will work with you or not?
Yeah, I would say most of the time, like I said, a lot of the ads that I get come through my management, and they don't, I mean, it's not like they manage my page or anything. They have a network of brands that they know that they'll reach out to, that maybe they know that they're casting for a campaign in May, so they'll pitch me to them. And they know my taste, and they know, like, you know,
just like what you're all about,
what
like
I'm all about.
So
or I feel like
skincare or something like that.
So I feel like most of the time they don't bring one to me that I'm like, oh, I would never do that.
Right.
Like, there's only been a few that I've turned down, but it's like, it's rare that brands that I don't align with would even like come my way. Like, so
they're like, hey, McDonald's is doing this campaign, and you're like, that's not me.
Yeah. I'm like, but also,
do you have any gluten-free?
During pregnancy, I did crave it, honestly.
Really? Those McDonald's French fries, they just hit differently.
Yeah. I craved Chick-fil-A a lot, which I'm not proud of, but
so good.
I'm like, I would take a Chick-fil-A ad.
The kale salad, you can balance that with some chicken nuggets.
Yeah, you can.
I do it all the time.
Although I am a spicy chicken sandwich and fries girl.
Ooh,
with milkshake.
That sounds so good.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I've heard spicy food is like good for your uterine lining too.
Yeah, the acupuncturist that I sent you to, Dr.
She told me, and I was like, that's not gonna.
Foods. Yes,
I was like, that's not gonna work for me because I'm a baby. But
are you?
I'm gonna try.
Yeah. I'm like, she tells me the same advice every time. Eat walnuts and sweet potato.
Jump up and down randomly. I'm like, so jump rope? And she's like,
but jumping is great. It really is great.
How is that?
Great for your lymphatic drainage
Just
too.
Sidebar really quickly.
The lymphatic drainage woman that I go to says the same thing. And she, I haven't bought this trampoline yet because it's $800.
Whoa.
But I got on it. She has one at her house, and it's like, it's not spring loaded. It's like rope loaded. So it's like really easeful on your body. But essentially the way she explained it to me is when you jump up and you're like you're not gravityless, but you know what I mean? There's no weight on you.
Yeah.
All your lymphatic pathways like open up when you're up. So I guess it helps with like
interesting
lymphatic drainage. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm like, I haven't bought one yet, but it's been at the forefront of my mind.
It's on the to-do list.
I'm like, after the stroller and the nursery chair and the bassinet, all that stuff. Then I'll get a trampoline.
Yeah. That's so exciting.
Yeah. I'm like, maybe I can get a trampoline ad. I'm like, trampoline ad companies, if you're watching this.
Sponsor me.
It would fit.
Yeah. So what are your favorite brands that you work with?
Well, one of my favorites is what I'm wearing is Vitality. I love their stuff. Like, it's kind of similar to Lululemon, but I feel like it's a little more trendy and a little more flattering on your body. Like, I truly, truly, truly love it.
They have more colors. Like, I love like the pops of color, like the lime
risks.
Greens.
Yeah, with the colors. I love working with Abercrombie. Like, I love their stuff. I shop Abercrombie like more than anything because the sizing is so consistent. Like, the quality is really good. I used to buy a lot of like Revolve stuff, but I've found and like worked with them a little bit,
it's
but
so
I just expensive,
and it's for the quality. It's not as great.
I felt like sometimes I would get a top and I'd be like, this feels like an Amazon quality top for like
$200.
Literally, like if you want the set, like insane. And I would spend sometimes I would spend my own money on like an event dress, but the way that their platform worked was like would sell like a certain amount, and when you could request payout, you could request like if you do store credit, you would get like 20% more. So I would just use like a store credit and buy the more like expensive, you know, a set that's like $100 for, or $150 for the top and $180 for the bottom. And
Yeah.
like,
I have known people to, especially my couples, like my brides, they've, got something from Revolve and it's really cute. And they're like, I'm sending it back because it was literally $800 and I'm never going to wear it again. But sometimes their quality just like doesn't match their price point. But I love Abercrombie as well. We actually just went into there whenever we went to Dallas for the weekend because I was like, I need a pair of jeans, and Abercrombie jeans just fit differently. Like their quality is so good.
It's so good. I'm like, I love being pregnant, but that's one thing that I'm like, when you see like a cute pair of denim, I'm like, I can't wait to wear my denim again.
Right. I'm
like,
sure that doesn't work right now.
Yeah. I'm like,
like
whatever,
low, mid-rise.
Yeah. Literally low. I'm low, baggy.
The lowest of rises possible.
I'm like, nothing's really going on with the fit. Like, it's just,
I had to crack up when I walked in though, because their vibe is so different than they used to be. They used to have like half naked men standing outside with like abs, and like that would never fly anymore. Or like you walk in and the music is so loud you can't hear anything, and then you leave with like a migraine because the perfume and the cologne.
Yeah, it's funny because Abercrombie owns Hollister. I used to work at Hollister in college.
Really?
And Hollister like has not evolved. Hollister like still makes you deaf when you walk in there,
still
and
bumping.
It still smells. And I'm like, the only thing that's changed is that they don't make their employees all wear like skinny jeans and like a blue tank with flip flops.
Yeah.
In the winter.
Yeah.
In the winter, I used to wear flip flops at my job in the winter.
That's terrible. It doesn't even make sense.
I would be like standing at the front folding shirts, like doing calf raises because my feet were so cold.
Right.
I would be like trying to move my feet around.
Warm up.
Yeah.
So Vitality, Abercrombie. Yeah. What other brands do you work with?
I work with Ghost, my supplement company that I've been with for like mine. I don't own it. Just the company that I've been with for like 7 years. I just really, there's a few products that I use like on the regular that I love. Like their skincare product Glow that I really love, and greens, and I take protein every now and again, but I just really love them as people. I used to work in their warehouse. I managed their warehouse for them in Tennessee, and they've just always treated me like family. And you'll find that like, I mean, nowadays in this realm, like to most brands, it's just a transaction kind of, or like you work with them once, or maybe you just don't really get to know the people, but they're just a brand that, I mean, because they were the first brand I ever worked with, and it was like back when, they were starting out, I was starting out, I just had like such a close family relationship with them, and they just always treat me with such respect. And
that's important.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably really hard to find in the influencer world, because you are kind of just a number, and they're probably working with a zillion other influencers. But if you have that relationship, like that just sets it apart. And then you feel, like you said, like family. I'm an affiliate for a photo gallery delivery system, and they follow me, and they ask me how our IVF journey is going. And I love that relationship because that just sets it apart. And you're like, okay, I truly love this company. And that's when you feel good about promoting it.
Yeah, for sure. The people that care, because like, lots of people jump around from like brand to brand, and
then that screams in authenticity.
Yeah. I think it's best to just like everyone says like don't put all your eggs in one basket, but I'm like, if you have confidence in yourself and you really like align with what you're doing and the brand you want to work with, like it's gonna work out for you, like there's no reason why it wouldn't. So it's okay to put all your eggs in one basket if you like those eggs and you like that basket. There's no reason to, try to look elsewhere, because I don't know. I think it's like one of the weirdest things to me on social media, I will say, is seeing influencers talk about like multiple, like this probiotic and then this one and then this one, or like all these different skincare lines, like from like first you were using this line and now you're using this line, and I'm like, so which one do you use? Because like some of us, lots of us use like different products from different lines. Like that's pretty normal. But yeah, I do think there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, you should stick to like one or two, that
absolutely. Because if you're changing every year, then your followers are also like, I spent money on that. Do you not believe in that anymore? Like what makes me want to also spend money on this if you're just going to change a year from now? So it also builds trust and credibility with you, that your followers know that you're never going to promote anything that you wouldn't stand behind, or that you're also not using yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, one of the really big things, and I'm sure my management like hates me for this, but I'm like, I'm only gonna promote skincare lines that like I already use and love.
Yeah.
I do love an eye mask by like a different brand, or like a lip mask or something like that. That's a little more like, it's not a staple in your skincare routine, but like I use all Biologique Recherche BR, and I'm like, I'm not gonna plug like another brand like
Just
it's like
because, just for the money.
like the money is great in the skincare business.
Yeah.
Like, but that's not what I use. And like, I don't want to say that I do if I don't.
Yeah. And then
I'm
you
like,
feel fake whenever you're filming whatever it is, taking the photo. You're like,
oh,
I'm fake right now. I'm
like,
being so fake.
I'm like, I don't want to use this. I would rather, like, I pay for the skincare that I use. And
Yeah.
it's like, I would rather pay for it and use it than like get something for free and get paid to talk about it that I don't use. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's like, I just,
Makes your skin crawl.
yeah, I can't.
It's like the major ick.
Yeah, I just can't. I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. They'll like come to me with this brand, and I'm like,
You just say no.
I see they have a lip mask. I will promote their lip mask if I like it and I try it, and whatever. But
So you have said no to people.
I mean, I say no to skincare brands more than anything, and they're like, I mean, apparently I have great skin, so I'm like, sorry.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not why I have great
You're
skin.
like, sorry, am I taking with this lip mask over here?
I know. I'm like, sorry.
So what was your first viral moment? I feel like every influencer kind of has this moment where maybe something popped off, a piece of content, or it maybe clicked where they're like, okay, this could actually work.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, because I've been doing this for so long. I feel like going viral was like not even a thing, when I first started. But I noticed that my swipe videos really started to do well, like when I first moved to Nashville. So I was living in Indiana, and then I took a job managing the warehouse for Ghost in Nashville. And like when I started posting swipe workouts consistently there, that's when my content like really started to do well, and I really started to gain a following there. I would say that like maybe I moved to Nashville in like March, and I had like 40K, and I grew to 100K by like that summer.
Nice.
So I remember growing really rapidly when I moved to Nashville, from swipe workouts. But then like, things have changed, and like when reels came along, I hadn't really had like a viral reel until like last year.
Really?
Yeah, I had something. I had posted like an ad that didn't do really well, and I was like distraught. It was like the views were like 1/100th of what they should have been, and I was like, it's over.
You're like,
It's over.
I have 2 likes. Cool.
I'm like, oh my god! I literally am calling all my friends. I'm like, can you please leave a comment? Can you please share it, please? I don't know what's going on.
You're sending it to your mom.
Like, shadow banned, literally. I'm like, what is going on? And literally like 2 days later, I posted something that went viral, and I was like, oh, everything's great.
Yeah.
And you know what though? That
I
moment,
take it all back. I'm not going to jump off the cliff anymore.
It's like so bad, but
It happens.
You
It's
know
so
what,
real. Like you
though?
post a video and it flops, and the next thing you post, it's like it goes viral, or it takes like
Yeah.
5 days, and you're like, the first day was like crap, and then on the 5th day it's like really
Yeah.
racking up, and you're like, what is happening? So
but that's
sometimes
life. Like
yeah.
that's life. Like
Truly.
you're not always gonna be like, when you're high, you better like be humble and like know that it's gonna go that way.
Yeah.
And when you're low, don't
Yeah.
be too low, because you know what's coming.
It's gonna
Like,
go back
you don't know when
up.
it's gonna be necessarily. Like, just know that like you're not always gonna be down here, and you're not always gonna be up here. So
Yeah.
like appreciate the highs and lows. And that honestly was a really like, I was really glad that those two happened so close together, because that is one of the things too that made me really calm down about social media and like views and all that stuff, because I was like, oh, okay, all right.
It's a good
That's
lesson.
just like where things are at right now. Like
Yeah.
I'm not the only one who that's happening to. Like it's happening to literally
It's happening to
everyone.
everybody.
It's not a you thing. Like it's not a reflection of like something you did. Like,
Yeah.
so
It's truly just random. And, like you said, it's a roller coaster. It goes up and down. And I feel like that's a really good metaphor for just life in general.
It is.
You're not always going to be up. Like, and if you are always up, like you're going to get bored with always being up, and you're not going to appreciate that high or appreciate the success.
Yeah.
Like you need the lows as well.
Yeah.
And if you tank and it flops, like nobody is laying in their bed at night going, oh my God, that reel that Kiley posted only got like 200 likes. Like, oh my God, how
Yeah.
embarrassing. Like nobody's thinking
and
that.
honestly, like even if they are, that's an
That's
inward
a reflection
reflection
of them,
you know what I
and
mean?
they aren't your people anyways.
Yeah. And anybody who's focusing on the downfall of other people, like those are not if you're one of those people like and you're listening to something like this, I know that nothing I say is gonna like,
They're gonna hear
make
what
you
they want to
not be a
hear.
negative person, like
Yeah.
and stop getting on Reddit and stop trolling people and stop. I know that like nothing I say is gonna like, but just know that like the energy that you're wasting doing that, like it could be spent doing better things that will dig you out of the trenches that you're in. Like honestly, you're not gonna be the tallest building by tearing others down. Like you're really not. Like it's not a way to success. And I do genuinely feel bad for the people that are trapped in like a cycle of being obsessed with negativity, like being obsessed with, finding something wrong about everybody. It makes me sad, but I know that it's like I know that it's something that
That they have to deal with.
that they have to deal with.
It's something that's a reflection of themselves
Yeah.
and something that they just, they need to deal with at the end of the day. So I can't even imagine that you get any hate. How do you handle negativity online? Because online can be a really mean place.
Yeah, it can be. And I really think that the last like I would say like 4-ish years, my friend Anna Grace, who she officiated my wedding, was like back a couple years ago, and she was like, "Well, you know what cancel culture is, don't you?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Oh God, just be careful, like anything you say." And I'm like, the first like 3 to 4 years of social media, I don't really feel like you had to be super careful. I felt like you could just really just be yourself and show up as you. And people wouldn't like pick apart just like everything you said. But I do feel like there was an influx of cancel culture like back a few years ago. I don't think it's as prevalent now because people have realized that like if they jump on the bandwagon, like they're not safe either. I'm like, no one is safe.
No one is
cancel
safe.
culture will come for anybody. Even if you were on the bandwagon to cancel somebody else, they'll still jump on you.
They'll turn on you.
I think people have stopped jumping on the bandwagon and like just it's
and holding people to this like really high pedestal. Like nobody's perfect.
Yeah. And it like diminishes authenticity. Like if you're so filtered that you're so worried about everything you say getting like twisted and scrutinized, like it definitely is hard. And every now and again I get a negative comment. Most of the time I'm capable of just like hitting block and deleting or restricting them or like moving on. Sometimes I reply back and it just never goes anywhere. Like I don't know if that's just the human nature in me that I'm not perfect in my response to people. Like, when someone says something like sassy to you, it's really, really hard to refrain from like getting defensive.
It's all, you can't control what other people think of you.
Yeah.
And just like when you first started, like I'm sure it was hard to just post that first YouTube video and be transparent and to share about your life. But just like with negativity, you have to get past what people think of you and the negativity and just to be yourself because you can't control everybody else. You can't please everyone because everybody's different. And you just have to control how you react.
Yeah. And I also find that when I see friends of mine or like people that are in the industry and maybe they're going through a season where they're like getting a lot of negativity and they're like talking about it a lot, it just like it draws more in. Like the more that if you're like sharing screenshots, sharing like things that have happened to you, like it pulls it out of the woodworks and it happens to you more. So the more you feed it, the more you're gonna get. So it's like if you just stop giving it attention, like literally just stop. At first it's hard because you stop giving it attention, but maybe you've got like 10 mean messages because there's like a bad thread somewhere about you. Like just give it a couple days. Like literally in a couple days it will be over.
It'll blow
Seriously.
over.
Like
people will forget about it.
Yeah, they will forget. They'll be on to someone else.
Yeah, fight negativity with positivity.
Yeah, truly. Like just let it go. Like yeah, I'm not perfect in my responses, but most of the time I'm just like delete. I try to pretend that I'm like an employee of myself. And I'm like, what would an employee do?
Yeah.
Hire this person.
Yeah.
Like what would I want an employee to do? I would want them to just like delete, block, restrict, whatever. Like don't reply. Don't say something that like could be used against you. Just like move on. So
that's a good way to approach it. Or just think about, like, what if that was being said about one of your best friends? Like, what's the advice that you would give your best friend? And then just take that own advice for yourself, because you probably love your best friends and you think the world of them. And if somebody's trying to bring them down, like, that would hurt you. And obviously you want to prove them wrong, but at the end of the day, you're not.
Yeah.
So just focus on everything that you're doing and the good in the world and just staying true to yourself.
Yeah.
Is there any advice that you have for aspiring influencers that want to kind of get into this industry?
I would say, I mean, your why has got to be like something that you think about, like, and that drives you in a pure way, right? If you just think that it's like easy money or like a really glamorous life, like it's not. Like, it definitely takes a lot to be successful. Like I said, I've been doing this since like 2017, and I feel like it took a really long time to build to where like I could leave my day job. So it does take time. Like, you've got to be patient with yourself.
You just went full time 2 years ago.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, because I moved here. Well, I guess maybe 3 years ago now. Okay, I'm like, I get confused because we bought our house 2 years ago, but I quit my job like 3 years ago. But like I said, could have quit my job.
That's like 4 or 5 years of actually putting in the work.
Yeah, like it takes time. I know some people have quick success. Some people have success like right away. But that's really, I don't think, the norm. Like, in my personal experience, it's not the norm. For most of my friends, it's not the norm. It's like a gradual increase. You've got to stay consistent at it. You've got to know that like right away you're not gonna like start something and like be the most successful person at it. So just, stay authentic to yourself. Share stuff that is like helpful for people. Think about like what types of content you save. Like, what types of content do you like and save? Stuff that is like, it's entertaining, or it's teaching you something, like it's a recipe, or it's a workout, or it's an outfit, or whatever it is. Like, think about like what your brain wants, and like curate yourself to practicing creating that type of content. And just know that in the beginning, like, it's gonna be so bad compared to like what you're seeing other people do. Like, I mean, you go back to some of my first reels, like when reels were becoming a thing, and I'm like, I should delete these.
You're like, they're so
really bad. They're like,
they see the transition though, or the progress.
Like, what was I doing?
Right.
Like
I watched some of your first few YouTube videos, and it was the cutest thing, because you would like
white blonde hair.
But you were like, you talked about the clip before you showed the clip, and I was like, wow, things have just changed so much, because that's what people used to do. Like, here, I'm starting my vlog, and here's this new clip, instead of just like transitioning into the new clip. But that just shows that you're going to evolve over time, and
just do it.
Just do it. Just throw it at the dart at the wall, and you're going to get better. That's the only way to get better, is just to practice.
Yeah. And like, so many people say like, oh, I'm going to start doing it. I'm like, okay, well, like, if you're going to start swimming, you got to like get in the pool.
Yeah.
Swim.
Yeah. Put the floaties on.
Like, do it. Like, get in. You're not just going to like get better by sitting here thinking about it. Like, just get in. Yeah. Start swimming. Like, figure it out.
Right. Exactly.
That's a terrible analogy. You could drown. But...
You might drown, but your friend will probably save you. There's probably a lifeguard there.
Well, but you get the point.
Yeah. Don't drown, guys. That's so funny.
Oh my gosh.
Well, so I want to transition into your pregnancy, because I love everything you're doing as an influencer. I feel like we could probably talk about that for hours. But I'm also so excited because you are going to have a baby girl soon. But you just walked through a really hard season. Are you comfortable sharing how you navigated your miscarriage?
Yeah, totally. It literally makes me emotional to even think about it, because...
Don't cry, because I'm going to start crying.
I know. It was honestly a really hard thing to go through. And I think right when it initially happened, I was such a spring into action person that I was like in denial about what had happened. So I like right away started like doing all these things, like juicing and acupuncture and finding an OB. And then like a month later, everything just like hit me all at once. And I feel like it took me a really long time to grieve. And I also feel like I didn't want to talk about it on the internet. Like, I wanted to talk about it, but I also didn't want to get stories of like defeat sent my way. So I didn't want to be a story of defeat. Like, I really wanted to wait until I was in the clear with another pregnancy, until I shared like, hey, this is what I went through. but like, look at me now. So like, if you're going through that, you can like cling to my story for hope, because that's what I did. That's what helped me, was seeing other women's stories of hope, and I clung to that. Like when I would see another story of like this tragic thing happening and this tragic, it was like, oh gosh, that's gonna be me again. And then it was like, when you see all these negative things, like you just think that's gonna be me, all the negative stuff, like that's gonna be me. So I really tried to like fill my head with like a lot of positive thoughts. I was doing breath work like for 30 minutes a day. And I feel like most breath work things are like for 5 minutes. And I would just like do it on repeat, like tell myself. There's one that I follow by Huberman Labs. He does like a 5-minute breathing to like reduce anxiety. It was a really big thing that I did. Acupuncture weekly acupuncture. He also on his podcast talks about like the actual scientific research behind like how clearing your meridians is good for fertility and a lot of other things. And then I have a friend who has a father who was diagnosed with cancer, like stage 4 cancer, and she treated him holistically with a juicing recipe. And that's why I started. I know a lot, like that's kind of a thing that a lot of people do. It's not like a woo-woo thing. Like
no, there's science behind it.
There's lots of people that, you know, take the holistic approach to cancer. And she was like, well, we're kind of like, she's like me. She wants to spring into action, wants to help people. She's like, you know, this is not a fertility recipe, but like if it cured my dad's stage 4 cancer, like I'm sure that it can help like your body get to a good place. Like why wouldn't it? Plus it's like, it's just good for you. So yeah, I started doing that.
I think it's really smart that you just took a hot minute and just you were with yourself, because I feel like, especially as somebody who has such an online presence, and you overshare, not overshare, but you share a lot about your life. So
probably
I'm sure
overshare.
It's we all do. But I mean, it's probably really hard to keep that. And but I think it was smart because you were grieving, like miscarriage. That's a grief. That's a loss. And I feel like I've grieved a couple times in my life, but I kind of equate it with like hibernating, and hibernating is a good thing. Like we need to not internalize, but we need to turn inward and really honor that and give it the time that it needs, grieve it, think about it, do the breath work. And because if you don't handle it, it's just going to come back later in life and it's going to rear its head. And you don't want that. You don't want to be holding on to that. You want to honor it and just give it the time that it needs.
Yeah, 100%. It was especially hard to keep it to myself because people like, social media is my job. I have to show up. If you have a miscarriage, like maybe you get a couple days off work, but like that's it. Then you've got to keep showing up and doing your job, unfortunately. Like as much as you're sitting at your desk and you're like just doing your job and you're like, everyone's asking you like, Karen, what's wrong? Like, you know, you'd have to just show up and do it. So I just like, I took some time off, but I had to keep showing up. Like I had to. It's what pays my bills. And I think that's like the hardest part, is that people could see that something was wrong and were like, you know, take time for you. And I'm like, I can't. This is what pays my bills. I have to show up. Okay. Like I have to show up. And also once I share what I went through, you're going to see, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, wow, look at how resilient she was. That she kept showing up. Like she took care of herself. Yeah. I took like time away, but I also know that like sitting in something for too long and like letting yourself, I mean, you can still grieve about it while still showing up. Like you can, I feel like you can kind of compartmentalize them, but like
there's a balance.
It's also okay to like be going through something and like keep showing up, because what is the alternative?
You have to keep moving forward. Like we don't get the chance to like pause the clock and be like, okay, I'm just going to sit in this. Like, and that's sometimes hard. It's just like the letting go, because you feel like you're letting go of that person.
Yeah.
But it's the opposite. Like moving forward and being positive is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
And you know, we should be doing that. There's a healthy balance instead of just sitting in it.
For sure. It was wild. It's like the craziest thing to have to go through. And I think
so many women go through
so many women, and it's really dismissed because, you know, so many women didn't even know they were pregnant and they had a miscarriage, and so it's really not that big of a deal. Like you were early. Like I was right before 6 weeks. I don't know that I really talked about that much, but that's a hard thing to talk about because people are like, well, technically it was a chemical pregnancy. I'm like, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I think technically actually a chemical pregnancy is like between 4 and 5, but also that's still a loss.
It's still a
Like
loss. For
life
sure.
happens when they meet at conception. So like it's still a loss. You are still like I always explain to people, I'm like, if they haven't been through it, I'm like, it literally feels like you're one soul. And then when you find out you not even
You
like
get
you
that,
find out you're
yes.
pregnant, you get that feeling.
Yeah.
Like there's another soul inside of you, and when it gets ripped away from you, like part of your soul like also leaves your body.
Yeah.
So it's not just like,
it's not
you were
nothing.
early, so it was easier. Like, I mean, that's probably true. People who are further along, probably the pain process is probably takes longer to recover from, if I had to guess. Like if we're but it's still like pain is still pain. Like it's still awful to have to go through,
Yeah.
like whether you lose your baby at 4.5 weeks or you're later along, like it's
hard
an
either
atrocious thing to
way.
have to go through. And one of the things that really gave me a lot of peace was I went to, do you know Matt Vincent? Do you know Matt and Bonnie? So Bonnie does a breathwork class, and she does the kind that kind of like you don't want to do it while you're driving, because you're like your body cramps up.
No.
Yeah. So I went to one with Erica, Matt Joe's wife. I went to one with her, and it was like, I mean, you kind of like mimic this hyperventilating response. I think it's like two in, or it's like in through your mouth. It's like and it's like you follow along with like a group full of people, and my body was like, I was tense, like I was cramping up, and you have your eyes closed and stuff. And I haven't really told this story to very many people. Maybe my husband knows. But I swear that I like saw that it was a girl that I was pregnant with the first time, and she was like, I was kind of like, I could see, I was just like up in the galaxy, and I remember being on like some sort of bridge, and she was like crossing over the bridge, and she was like, it's okay, like don't worry, I'm sending you someone, like I wasn't meant for, it wasn't meant to be me, like I'm sending someone down for you. And I like literally saw that, and I feel like that's when I really started to like get a lot of peace around it. It was like knowing that she was gonna send me start.
It's like passing of the torch, kind of. Like, I just got chills, because sometimes our minds can really give us answers, and they're blessings from God, and they're signs from God that we can never see in the real world.
Yeah, totally. I will say that's one thing too that has helped me a lot with this pregnancy. My husband and I, neither one of us was raised religious in like any capacity, and we really have both just like dove in. Is that the right terminology? Dove into our faith,
which
like
is so hard to do as like controlling people, where it's like, I know for me, if I know this about fertility, and if I know all these like nutrients and these supplements, like I can control my pregnancy, I can control what happens to me. And it's like, the reality is life doesn't work that way, and God has this path for us that's laid out that we don't know, like we're not privy to it. We just have to lay it at his feet, and that's the hardest thing to do.
It's the hardest thing to do, but it's where I've found the most peace. Like any time where I've needed it. Pregnancy for everyone is stressful, but pregnancy after loss also super like, you're just super anxious all the time. You're like really, really worried about,
How did you keep a level head now that you're pregnant again? That fear of having another
praying. Literally praying.
Yeah.
That's like been the one thing that I have to lean on this time that I didn't have to lean on that time. Anytime I felt anxious, I mean, try to get better at praying when you're like not asking for something.
Yeah.
Like
it's hard.
when you're just like, I'm grateful, I don't do anything tonight. But like anytime I would lean on prayer, I feel like my prayers were actually answered. Like I would see her in my dreams and get like a sign of reassurance. I could see a future memory that we're gonna have, or I would just sleep through the night. Sleeping through the night is peace, and it's an answered prayer. So, and also like learning to see things that way too, and not like your answered prayer is not always like a slap in the face. Sometimes it's like just
very subtle.
Peace.
Sometimes it's a gut feeling or an intuition, like a woman's intuition. I think that's given by God.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. Because there's no other way to explain it. Like,
no, there's not.
You know, like sometimes you just know things.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
That's been a really, really helpful thing for me, and having my husband and I like both on that journey together is something that's really special.
Having a supportive partner just like makes all the difference in the world. Yeah, I know, like for me and John, it's like I ask him questions or like what he's feeling, and he's like, literally anything you want to do, like we're gonna do it. Like it's whatever makes you feel comfortable and good. And like I can't imagine not having a present partner.
Oh my gosh, I can't either. Like I truly feel so lucky to have my husband. I tell him every day, I'm like, I just want to absolute jackpot with you. I just love him so much. Like I really am so grateful, and it makes me want to have a son too, because I want
a mini Jeff.
I want a mini Jeff.
Can the world handle a mini Jeff?
I want to give the world like another Jeff, you know, like I do like he just is such a great person, and I want to be able to give that to the world.
It's a crazy feeling like, it's a crazy feeling like loving so much that you're like, I want to make a person with you.
Yeah. It's super cool.
So how's your first trimester been?
First trimester was hard. It was like, I don't even remember it. It was such a blur. Didn't document any of it.
I'm not remember it.
I mean, food was like, I hated everything. People talk about pregnancy cravings, and I'm like, pregnancy what?
Yeah.
I wish I had a craving.
Really?
Like,
just like could you keep stuff down? Did you feel sick?
I did throw up a couple of times, but most of the time if I felt like I was going to get sick, I would just like lay down. Just lay down. Put ice on my forehead. Let it pass.
Do your breathing exercises.
Do your breathing. Not even kidding. Literally, I'm like... just breathing
over and over,
literally over and over again. Ice my forehead, like just be horizontal. Like the nausea is a different type of nausea. I mean, I threw up a few times. Like I was getting ready in the morning, and I had just gotten a spinach wrap from Starbucks and literally finished the last bite and went over to the toilet and puked it out. And I'm like, can I get a refund?
Like the Starbucks, really?
Literally, I had just finished that.
So
like
expensive.
One thing to puke, like, 30
You're thinking about the money that you just wasted.
I'm literally like, I can take a photo. It's in the toilet. If I can have another one, that would be great. But I mean, it's all bearable, and I think like, especially when you go through something like, I think anybody who has kind of a journey when it comes to pregnancy and not just like conceives right away. Like whether you're going through IVF, whether you have had a miscarriage or multiple or whatever, you like see those symptoms as a positive. You really see them in, I think, a different light. I mean, I think a lot of people can be appreciative, but I think especially when you've been through like the other side of it in some way, it really makes you appreciate what's happening. And so, I mean, I rested. I was like, I'm tired, taking a nap. I don't nap. Good for you. My husband was like, you must be tired. You do not nap. I am like too anxious to nap. I've never diagnosed.
I think the last time I napped when I was like 16 or something.
Literally. I just like can't. I'm like, it's 2 p.m. I got to do stuff. Like I can't just take a nap. I can't take a nap in the middle of the work day. What is that? Like, right. And then why would you nap at night? Because then you're not going to be able to fall asleep, and then I'm anxious. And I'm like.
Yeah, I'm the same way. So you must have been tired.
Oh, I was so tired.
That's a good point, though. Is like if you need rest, like just take it. Like this
you don't
is such
need to go to the gym.
No, you really don't. Like
you
this
really
is such a small blip on the radar in the like grand scheme of things. Yeah. It's what's the first trimester like?
11.
Is it 11 weeks?
Yeah, 12. Or I think it's like 12, 13. But for me, I feel like it started to clear up. Like everything started to like feel better at 11 weeks.
Yeah. But now you're working out again.
Yeah. Like I was doing like a little bit my first trimester. Again,
what do your workouts consist of?
I wish I could have. It's like I wish I could have been sharing it. Like, I know everybody hides their pregnancy, like their first whatever when they find out. For the first like 8 weeks, they hide it. But I would walk when I could. I mean, it was also cold outside, so I was like, I don't really want to walk outside, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I would walk outside like when I had the energy to. Like, I wouldn't push it. I would like walk for 20 minutes or like walk around my neighborhood. That way, like if I felt tired, I could just stop. I wasn't like 20 minutes away from the house.
Yeah.
And I had like a pair of dumbbells in the bedroom and like a resistance band. And at night, like I would just kind of like, if I was feeling better at night, I would just like set a timer for 20 minutes, like do some dumbbell curls, like do some glute bridges, do like, do some core stuff, like just, activating your deep core, like nothing that was making me break a sweat, nothing that would make me be sore. Like I really was just honoring my body and like just listening to like, am I tired? Am I too tired to do this? Like, if I was tired, I did not work out. Like, I would wait until I felt like I felt good, which usually came a couple hours after I ate a meal. Like, if I had a big meal.
Yeah, listen to your body.
Later, yeah.
And 20 minutes is plenty.
It's plenty.
If you need it. Like, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And sometimes just like moving our bodies and doing body weight is good enough.
Yeah.
And especially when you're creating life. I mean, it's good for just movement and blood flow, but also your joints. So like, don't discount those 20 minutes.
Yeah. And I would encourage people like not to be, you know, I know you don't feel good. Like, you should move because you want your blood circulating. Like, you don't, I mean, I do think that like that is kind of something that puts people at risk for blood clots is like staying too still, staying in bed for too long. So like, you know, honor your tiredness, but also like learn to know the difference between like, has your tiredness just turned into a laziness, and like, you know, can you get yourself up and go for a walk? Like, do you feel okay enough to do that? So
my Aura Ring is really good at being like, hey, you lazy bitch.
Yeah.
Do you want to stretch your legs a little bit?
Literally,
I'm like,
why I can't wear one. I'm like, oh my gosh, the pressure.
I know, right?
I'm like, no, I'm busy.
It's like the one notification that it gives you like that in bedtime. But I'm like, every time I get those notifications, I'm like, oh crap.
Do you look at it every day?
I do. Yeah. I love my Aura Ring.
Yeah. Do you wake up in the morning? Are you like a well-rested person? You look at it in the morning and it's like, congrats, you got good sleep.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like,
good.
I'm a really good sleeper up until like we started the IVF process and we had all those hormone medications. I feel like my body's finally starting to even back out because I've been in the 70s for so long, but I was rocking like the 90s.
I mean,
like
70 is still great. I would take a 70.
Really? What do you hover at?
I used to have, well, I don't have an Aura Ring, but I used to have the Whoop, and it would be like, I would be like mid 50s to like mid 70s. No, so if I was in the 70s, I was like, sick.
Dang.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong, but
yeah.
You know what though? Now that I'm on progesterone in my pregnancy and I take melatonin religiously, and those two together just
knock you right out.
Knock me right out.
Okay, that's my next question is like, how is the progesterone? Like, how does that make you feel?
I'm tired and it's great. I like
so many naps for Kylie.
Like if we're out at dinner and I'm like, gotta take my progesterone, I'm like, guys, we've got about an hour before
I'm out.
Like literally my mom and stepdad, they both, well, I think one of them now takes Ambien, and I'm like, I literally feel like my mother on Ambien. I am like, what's everyone talking about? Like,
right.
I mean, yeah, it makes me tired, which is great.
Yeah, because you need the rest. Yeah. You're building life. Are you still on it right now, or are you not?
Yeah,
you are.
My I'm 20. What am I? 20 weeks and like a few days. Like I'm 20 and a half weeks, and my my OB, she follows what's called the NAPRO protocol. Not a lot of doctors know about it.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, or follow it. Like a lot of doctors will be like, your placenta takes over at 12 weeks or whatever, and I don't think it's as simple as that, the way that she has explained it to me. And I mean, she's a licensed OBGYN, so like I trust her. I feel so lucky that I found her. And she's like, you're probably going to be on it like for your whole pregnancy, and like that's okay. She's like, you need progesterone to keep your cervix closed. I don't really know a lot about what's going on down there. I really should learn, but I'm like, whatever, it's natural. I'm like,
that's why we are, we
don't
see
need
doctors.
to worry about it.
No,
like,
they need to know what's going on. We just have to say, okay, like, we'll do it.
Yeah, like I know women that get pregnant and they learn everything about like, oh, your cervix, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
yeah, there's just so much that goes into it.
Yeah. I'm like, that's fine. So,
I mean, I just figured out what a follicle was before we started the IVF process. I was like, they create the eggs. So like you have multiple follicles, so you can have like multiple eggs.
Hand things?
Like that is the fallopian tubes that hold the ovaries.
Oh. See, we learned this all too early when it didn't matter. We learned it in like what, fourth grade, fifth grade. I'm like, why did?
Well, they were also trying to teach us fractions.
I'm like, why are we learning? Like,
I forgot both.
It's not relevant. Like,
no.
I'm not.
That's what the beauty of the internet is for, because you can listen to podcasts. And for me, like, I just like, if I'm going through something, I will binge the crap out of podcasts about it, YouTube videos, like you name it, I've watched it.
Yeah.
I've watched women's whole like IVF cycle just to learn. And I think that's the beauty of it, is like knowledge is power. So if you are freaking out about something, just do your research. And that can kind of like subside some fears.
For sure. Like someone has walked this path before.
Definitely.
And here's all the things they've done. Like just try some of that. Like you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice to have the internet and podcasts and all of that stuff to like have to lean on for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Because like people just had, in the old days, they just had to go to the library and like check out a book.
Or hope to God that someone they knew went through the same thing.
Right.
If they didn't, it was like,
ask grandma.
wrong with you.
Right, yeah. Right. So have you picked out a baby name? I'm not going to ask what the name is.
We have. We had two. We had a boy name and a girl name. Aww. Yeah, we'll share soon. I think we'll probably share before she's born.
Do you have any girl names that you liked that are being unused?
No, because we are so decisive. we like we would just talk about names. We'd be like, nope, yep. Like,
nice.
And that was it. Like seriously, we don't have a list, but we were like that with everything. Like, we looked at one wedding venue. I looked at the first dress I tried on was when I got married in. I'm like, it just
decisive.
It just checks out that the first name we landed on. I'm like, that's it. It's like
the girl knows what she wants.
Yeah, yeah.
So what are you most excited about being a mom? Like, what's that moment you're like, I can't wait for that moment?
All of it.
All of it.
Just to have like a best friend. Not in the way that like your mom should be your best friend. Like she should be a mom, but just to like be able to pour into something that is so much bigger than yourself. I do feel like, I mean, I know there are women who don't want kids, and I was one of them. Like until Jeff and I got engaged, and I really felt like, wow, this is what it's like to be able to lean on somebody, to be able to like lean into my feminine. I like.
Yeah,
hate that we're all talking about that right now.
It's so true though, but because especially as a business owner and a female, you're so like driven, and it's really hard to like let that go. And I really enjoyed that about me and John is like when I get home, I can kind of be like more lean into my feminine energy.
Yeah. Literally that. Like Jeff gave it this stability. Like he gave me the pillar to lean on that I never felt like I would be able to find. And like the minute that we got engaged, we were like, we totally want to have kids. Like we changed our mind entirely. I know that there's a ton of people out there that are like, I thought you didn't want kids. And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't.
People can change their mind.
Like now it's like I can't explain. Like I'm trying to articulate what I think happened, which is like once we got engaged, I felt like I could lean on him, and like, you know, you just have this level of like trust in someone that you've never had before.
And when you get that love, it's different.
Yeah, it's different. So like being able to create that life with him, like see him as a dad, just to have a deeper purpose in life. I really feel like we are as humans, like we're meant to do that. And having that is something that I'm really excited for.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch.
I'm excited to share, but I'm nervous to share. I'm nervous to, I don't want to overshare. I don't want to, I mean, we've all seen what happened with like, what's the girl's name? Ruby Frankie. Did you know about that?
That sounds really familiar.
She's like the mom influencer that was like,
oh yeah,
being too harsh with her. She was like,
she went to jail.
In Utah. Yeah. I'm just like, we haven't seen like influencers whose kids have been on the internet and like what that's like now.
We don't know that yet because they're not old enough.
Yeah. So, but I'm like, we've seen child stars, right? We've seen like
that
Amanda Bynes
for the
and
most
Britney
part
Spears, like
doesn't play out very well. Or the parents that like make their own Instagram pages for their children, that kind of like crosses a line for me.
Yeah. It crosses. I'm just
so where is the balance? Like,
I feel like it's one that I'll have to find as I go, you know, but I feel like one thing that I notice when I'm like watching other content creators like navigate it is like, you know, the kid like is looking at themselves in the phone, in the camera. And we've all seen kids like adapt to their photo being taken on a phone. They want to see it right away. They want to see what they look like. They want to see. So it's like,
they know.
I just feel like it can be like a part of your life, and it can be like I just feel like you need to be really strategic with how you sprinkle it in.
Absolutely.
You know?
I have those forethoughts as well. It's like, how do I share? Like when do I share? Like, do I keep certain things private? And I think it's okay to have boundaries.
Yeah. It's okay to have boundaries. I think it's okay to share. And I think it's just something that like you just have to pray about. Like you just have to like lean into like what is God leading me to do? Like what feels right? What feels wrong? Like, am I being selfish? Am I using my child for views? There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that.
Definitely.
And I think it's yeah, you just have to be careful. You just have to check in with yourself often.
And then you're, potentially raising children that are also glued to your phone or their phones, and that's dangerous. I mean, I think I see how young girls are already impacted by social media and how there's this beauty standard for women especially, and you just have to be really careful about how you're introducing online world and social media into your kids' hands, because that's how they're gonna learn to use it themselves.
Yeah.
And it's a really great place. Like we've talked about how it can give us an education and information, but it can also be a really mean place, and it can take you down like a really dark hole.
Yeah. And you have to know that your kids are gonna, however much time you're spending on your phone is exactly, I mean, your kids, monkey see, monkey do, your kids are gonna wanna do exactly what you do.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're just sitting there spending all that time on your phone, but you don't want to buy them one, I'm like, oh, they're going to nag you till the cows come home.
Right.
Like, you're going to end up buying them one, like you've got to be a good example for them and try to separate your phone time from when you're around them, which I know is like so hard. I can't even imagine like what this looks like,
Yeah.
I know it's going to be hard.
Yeah, especially when it's your job.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, I'm already trying to put into rules into like my daily life and how I separate from my phone. Like every night at a certain time, like I need to be putting it in my bedroom, or like if we're eating and we're sitting at the table, the phone's like not right next to me. And I feel like sometimes those small changes can make a big impact.
Yeah, for sure. Like setting those boundaries now.
Yeah.
So that, when you get pregnant and when you have a kid, like you're already practicing those things.
And talk about it with your partner.
Yeah.
Be like, what is your view on social media and children and all that stuff? Like having those conversations up front can like really make you guys a team.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you all day. I feel like I could literally talk to you.
We literally could chat forever.
I know, it's been so great. But I have one last question.
Yeah.
So, we all are blessed on this earth for like a limited amount of time, and it's all about what we leave people with. So what is like a legacy or a message that you hope to leave people with through your platform?
I would just say that, like, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Like, if there's something that you want to do in this world, there's no reason why you can't do it. If you want something, like, go after it, work for it. Like, there's no reason why you can't be happy. There's no reason why you can't find love. There's no reason why you can't, like, all of these things. Like, you're the only thing holding you back. Truly, truly. That is, I would say that's the message that I want to leave people with. And like, someone has walked your path before. Like, you're not alone in it. I really feel like that's my main message that I would want to leave people with.
That's a good message to have. I mean, you think about regrets. That's the scariest thing for me, is like, think about you on your deathbed. Just picture it, envision it. Yeah. Would you regret not doing something? And if the answer is yes, you should probably have done it yesterday.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think a lot of us, I think our culture is really obsessed with like lifting up being a victim. And obviously, like, if you're a true victim of something awful, that's an awful thing. Like, that's terrible. However, I think you have to pick yourself up and be a hero. I think it's way, 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 way cooler.
Yeah.
Way cooler. Way happier. Way
empowering.
More fulfilling. Way more empowering to be a hero
be your
of your
own
life
hero.
than to be a victim.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to be a victim of something. Like, whatever has happened to you. But, like, no one's coming to save you. Like, in this physical reality, like, you have to get up and like put one foot in front of the other and like move forward, and you are totally in the driver's seat of that. Like, you can absolutely build something from nothing.
Absolutely. I mean, like, lick your own wounds, but also, make something of it. Like, pick yourself back up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people find you online?
So my Instagram handle is Fit by Kiki, and that's KIKI. And that's my TikTok as well. And that's pretty much where to find me. I don't have a website or anything like that, because I'm like, what would I be doing on there? Plugging my Instagram.
Right.
No website for Fit by Kiki, but yeah.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep. I'll see you guys next time.